What's going on, guys? Andrew Piluk Hockey here, back again with another video. You guys are reading the title correctly. We can never escape it. We can never escape this talk. Is John Tavares the worst contract on the Toronto Maple Leafs? And why are we talking about bad contracts with the Toronto Maple Leafs when, in fact, there's teams that have much worse players on much worse contracts? And is it a good thing that the worst contract on the Maple Leafs is John Tavares? We're going to look into all of that in this video. The reason why I'm having this discussion is because TSN did, I think it was on Overdrive. They were talking about, a list that came out of the best and worst contracts on every team in the NHL. And the John Tavares discussion obviously came up with him being deemed the worst contract on the Leafs. The best one was supposed to be Morgan Riley, which I would disagree. I think that still Austin Matthews is the best contract, even though he's getting paid quite a bit. You can even argue William Nylander at this point, but I have to look at it this way. A lot of people are looking at that, John Tavares, $11 million and thinking, oh, well, it's so much money, he's overpaid and this, that, and the other. And they even had the audacity to say that the second he signed that contract, they had to expect that he was going to get worse. But I need to look at these numbers before we go any further. Actually, I will say, before we go any further, make sure to subscribe to this channel. I'd really appreciate it. Join the squad. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before the end of this year. So please stay tuned. So they talked about how he would get worse. He signed, by the, when he's 30 years old, he's going to start to take a dip. Well, I mean, look at these numbers since he signed in Toronto. Hopefully you guys can't hear my dog in the background, but if you can, I apologize. But with the Islanders, of course, he was a fantastic hockey player. But the second he signed in Toronto, 82 games played, 47 goals, 41 assists, 88 points, more than a point per game, the most he's ever had in his career. And people are deeming this to be the worst contract on the team. Okay, and then 63 games played last year, he had 60 points in 63 games played, and he was talking about how or not he specifically, but people brought up the fact that he also was injured. Like he was had some games where he was playing injured, so you have to take that into account. But he almost scored 30 goals in a shortened season, scored 47, his career high in goals and points in his first year in Toronto, and people are still complaining about that contract. And I know it's a luxury that maybe the Maple Leafs didn't have to have when they signed him, of course. But I keep bringing it up, and this is something that I want to go in depth about as, we make more videos on this channel. But the Maple Leafs signing John Tavares was something that needed to happen at that time to take the next step for this team. And the reason they did that was because they knew that the salary cap would be going up significantly with the new team coming in, with the new deals when it comes to the TV deals and stuff like that were going to be coming up. The arena deals, they were able to give more as a signing bonus, whatever. A pandemic happened, guys. They couldn't have predicted that. The Leafs right now, if there was no pandemic, like let's say the team that they have now, Simmons, Thornton, everybody like that, even TJ Brody, they would probably still have $2 to $3 million to spare with the projected salary cap. It wouldn't have been at 81.5. It would have been around 84. And then in the following season, they were projecting anywhere from 88 to 90 million. It was supposed to be a very significant jump. That means you could have re-signed everybody and still had money for a big name defenseman. It could have been Alex Pietrangelo instead of TJ Brody if you trade Justin Hall and Kerfoot. You can bring in better depth guys and bring in two big name defensemen. Maybe that's a video we have to go into, is talking about what ifs if the salary cap was raised up. The Leafs would have had a lot more options, but that's not what happened. So let's look at the contracts right now for the Maple Leafs, okay? Obviously, let's not talk about the top end of the line. Oh, they've signed for too much money. Oh, this, that, and the other. I want you to really look at this team and tell me where there's a bad contract. Like, think about Louis Eriksson. Is there a Louis Eriksson on this team? Is there a really bad Louis Eriksson contract on this team? Don't think so. Is there a $9 million Skinner contract for him to barely play and not score? I don't think that there's a Skinner contract on here. Is there a aging, former Leaf Patrick Marleau deal on here. Obviously, that deal is up now, but no, there isn't. There isn't. This $6.9 million here, Patrick Marleau was getting paid like $6.2 million, and that was signed by Lou Lamoriello. Now you've got a 24-year-old William Nylander making just under $7 million. That's a much better deal to have. Is there a Nikita Zaitsev? Oh, you're right. There isn't a Nikita Zaitsev on this blue line. There is no really bad contract. There isn't even a bad contract in my eyes on this team. Obviously, and we've said it a million times, if we could go back in time and sign these guys to a little bit of cheaper deals, you would do it, of course. But you're overpaying for guys that get 85 to 90 points a year. You're not overpaying for a Louis Eriksson or a Nikita Zaitsev or a Jeff Skinner. You're overpaying for Austin Matthews, who's going to touch 50 goals. You're going to be paying that much for John Tavares, who is the biggest free agent in so many years. Like, there wasn't any huge free agents that actually got to free agency. John Tavares signed for less than what other teams were offering. San Jose clearly offered over $13 million. Some say it was 14 for John Tavares per season. And the Leafs got him at 11, right? That's a big number, but the Leafs got him for less than what other teams were offering. You know, this contract situation could be much worse. They could have bad players getting paid this much money. If the Leafs put William Nylander on the market tomorrow, they would get a taker for him. If they put Mitch Marner up on there, they've paid out a lot of his bonuses. There would be teams that would be willing to look at making this deal. You're never going to trade Austin Matthews. But, you know, same thing with like Kerfoot. There was lots of interest for Kerfoot around the league. And if you don't believe me, go and read it from the verified sources. Zach Hyman, same thing. Mikheyev, that's a pretty good deal too. Wayne Simmons, you had to overpay a little bit to get him to come here, right? So, like even Jake Muzzin, lots of takers would be for him. Of course, Morgan Riley, TJ Brody, Justin Hall at $2 million. You could trade him for a depth pick. There's no guys on this team where the Leafs are like, oh, well, it's impossible. We can't move this guy. He's terrible. This is a bad contract. That's not how this team is built. They've got a lot of really top-end good players that are getting paid a lot of money, but they're not bad contracts. And John Tavares is not a bad contract. I'm going to pull up his stats again. We need to see this again. Tell me where in these numbers this guy is giving you bad years, okay? 2 years already, and he's given full value to the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm really sick of this conversation. I hate having it. I don't think the Leafs have a bad contract. Did they overpay for some guys? Yes, but I'd rather overpay for guys that put up these type of numbers and these type of numbers than guys that are giving you 10 points and 15 points and taking up a good amount of your cap space to the point where you literally can't re-sign any of your big free agents. Like, look at Vancouver. They lost Tanev. They lost Markstrom. They lost, Josh Levo, not too big of a deal, but they lost Toffoli. They lost all these guys because they had so many other contracts on that team that were not tradable. They couldn't find takers for guys. They couldn't find ways to get around those deals and hold on to their supreme elite talent. Now, sure, they've got some young guys that will step into those roles, but Vancouver took a step back. There's teams that can't move certain pieces. The Leafs are not in that spot. They could move guys to clear out space, and they did. They moved out Kapanen. They got a first-round pick and a pretty good player in prospect, right? They got rid of Janssen for a prospect that they think could provide them good value for a cheaper contract because they've got guys that can fill in for Janssen's spot. They had lots of interest for Kerfoot, right? They've moved out pieces and gotten value back instead of getting no value. So John Tavares being the worst contract on this team is not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Tavares is not a bad deal. It's not a bad contract, and I'll stand by that, and I still do. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you are new, make sure to subscribe. Let me know down below if you guys think the Leafs actually do have a bad contract. I'd be very intrigued to hear that. I can't wait to do live streams with this audio and with this background. Let me know how I can improve these things. I appreciate you guys as always. Make sure to subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video or stream. Peace.